we'll bring Ben up and his wife, Hannah. Come on, guys. Get him a hand. All right, so just a little background, and I'll let him talk a little bit. Like I said, we met. He came in. His mother, is she still here, Prairie? Oh, hey, that's his mom back there. And so, we had, she told me that he wanted to meet with me, one of the mentors, and we met, and we did our initial consultation after they joined or whatever. And so, you never know, like, the people that are going to take action. And so we met one week. Next week, he's like, man, I got a deal. And I'm thinking, this dude, what's wrong with this dude? He didn't have a whole lot of money. I think he only had like, $20,000? He was like, I got some more money coming. And in my mind, because it was around Christmas time, in my mind, I'm like, wait till you get that money. You know what I'm saying? But he's like, I want to do a deal. So he ended up finding a deal. So what did you end up? Well, let's tell a little bit about yourself before I get too ahead of myself.
Sure. So I'm going to make a quick correction there. Okay. My parents were in this, but our excitement for it convinced them to start doing more stuff. So she didn't galvanize us to do it. It was the other way around. I'm going to take credit there.
Okay. Yeah.
So
tell us about how you tried to tell them that they shouldn't be in lifestyles.
Yeah, so I'm a software engineer. I work for Amazon. This is my wife, Hannah. She's a teacher. And so the very first time that my parents approached us, we got dinner, and they were saying, hey, you should really get into real estate. And I didn't know anything about real estate, but I'm very good at math. And so...
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Okay. But I'm very good at math. And so I think I either pulled out our iPad or like the napkin and some paper, and I wrote down why real estate is such a bad idea and how the numbers don't work. And I showed them. It was like, you make $200 maybe on a house. This doesn't make any sense. You're not going to live on $200. And that was my reasoning why real estate is such a bad idea.
What about you, Hannah? What were you thinking? I'm just here.
Yep. He's the math guy, and they were talking real estate, and I am still in school getting my master's in teaching, so this was all above my pay grade. And I said, carry on.
All right, and so basically, you got out of college, but the key thing, especially going to the 2-day, and some of you guys signed up for the 2-day, that's what we'll be having this weekend. Chris will be teaching. I'll be here. Before I forget to tell the people, I'll be here on Sunday to talk to you guys. But so you what was that aha moment, that you kind of...
Yeah, so I just convinced my parents, or not convinced, I just informed them why real estate was such a bad idea because you only make $200 on a house. But I knew that it didn't make sense to go work for someone else. And so I left that conversation. I was talking with my coworkers. I'm like, hey, how does this make any sense? I have to work the rest of my life and then hope I have enough money in the bank account for my wife and I to live off of for like the remainder of it. I was like, this doesn't make sense. And they said, well, you should get into investing. I'm like, okay, what does that look like? And they're like, well, buy stocks. And I was like, well, that doesn't seem to make sense either. So then my parents, they do get a lot of credit. They did convince us to come to the 2-day seminar. And I remember it was David Fisher was our teacher. He was like, yeah, I don't know how many doors at this point, a couple thousand doors. And I was like, oh, you can have more than one house.
Yeah, and so that's the big thing, because like most people, when they come in, they think, one house. Because like when I grew up, I mean, the big thing was adding on to your house, when I grew up, grandparents, mom. But I never knew you can have another house or 10 houses, or 20 houses, So that was the big key. But what about, just kind of blowing through, so your parent, but the funny thing is, you tried to tell them not to do it, and now you're telling them to do it.
Yeah. So we very much encouraged each other. I was just calling them out a little bit. So they convinced us to do 2-day, then we got really involved, and then they got even more involved. And so, but the big aha moment was like, I can invest as much as I want. It's really in my control. We can have as many doors as we want. It's not something where we buy 1 or 2 houses and then we're done. It's very exponential.
Yeah. So basically, to set this up, when they got their first house, we meet. He, like I say, a week or so later, he's like, man, I found a deal. Now, that deal fell through, but the realtor, because, he had been working with him, gave him, another deal that they end up executing. So tell us about this property.
Yeah, so This is our Hines Street house. It's in Baytown, Texas, so that's southeast of Houston. So right over on the coast, it's called Baytown. Yeah, what happened, honestly, it was just like, he sent it to us and was like, we have to do something. I'm not going to sit here for forever and never do a deal. And so I was like, yes, let's do it. I don't even know if we're going to have enough money yet. Actually, we had $18,000 in the bank. There's not enough money to do a house.
And I'm like, wait, hold up, you're going too quick, man.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even know if we have enough money, but we're going to do this. And so I got the pictures for it, and it's these pictures on...
Oh, go ahead. No. Yeah, talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, so these pictures on the right, I saw these, and I was like, wow, this is terrible. Who would ever live in this? Oh, it's crazy. You can see, like somebody had all of his stuff in there. It was like, wow, these are not good living conditions. But as Lifestyles teaches, it's best product, best price. So how do we take something really bad and not be slumlords, but turn it into something really good? Mm-hmm. And so this is where I'm calling up Adrian, calling up, all the Lifestyles vendors, a lot of people, the whole Lifestyles team, like, okay, the numbers work. So even though the house looks bad, how do we turn it into something good?
And that's the thing about, especially if you join having a mentor working with you, because it's not him trying to figure it out on his own. He called me, we talked. Like I say, he talked to other vendors and everything, and we just walk you through how to step by step hold your hand. Now, we don't do it for you, but we'll tell you what to do, and you can execute it, right? That's mentorship. So let's talk about the numbers real quick. So basically, tell us about the numbers.
Yeah, so the initial Lifestyles blast had an after repair valve.
And we'll talk about the blast. I know some of you got confused about the blast. No, it's okay. You're doing good, Ben. I really appreciate you being up here. You're doing good, man. You got me nervous. But we'll talk about the blast. Chris will go into a whole lot of detail about that. So basically, our realtors, they're set up. Sydney, Danny, I know Sam is in here somewhere. Yeah, Sam back there. And so they'll go send properties to you. How would you like that, right? Someone sending properties to you. So Chris will go over that this weekend.
Yeah, so Moon Kim was our realtor. This appraised value, he had originally estimated was about 150, or 152 was I think the original estimate, and then we got the appraisal back and it was 167, which was great. We purchased it for $52,000. I did not know that there are houses in the U.S. that sold for $52,000, but we got
you do
this.
now. Huh?
Yeah, I do now. And then rehab, $67,000. It was a very large rehab, but it's what made the numbers work for us. And so final cash out of pocket was pretty low. So, and again, the review in the 2-day seminar, go listen to Chris Wyatt. He explains it really well. But essentially, it's all a function of these three produce the cash out of pocket. It did end up being a little higher. We had a little bit of a change order, but that's fine. Rent. So we have tenants paying $13.99 a month. Our cash flow. So as Chris White said, you want $200 to $600, I think. Ours is slightly lower than that. But in our case, we were going for really high equity capture. It was also our first property. We realized that we'll rely more on the mentors, more on the blasts, more on the vendors, and we'll get it better the second time around. But.
And really, honestly, if you think about it, now we at some points, we were getting high for us like cash flow, but now it seems like the equity. But really, honestly, if you think about it, you want the equity, because if you take $500 each month, that's $6,000 a year. But what I'm seeing, especially in this area, it's not unusual to see maybe $50,000 equity capture. When you rather have $50,000 versus maybe $6,000, so actually he's better off. He's doubled his money. So yeah, let's.
No, you can't move on yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got to spend a little more time.
He said he was gonna ask.
I got to beat him up.
Okay, beat him up. Oh.
Who'll be happy with $13,000 out of pocket on a house?
Exactly.
All right.
Were
you happy with that?
For those of you who didn't raise your hand, we need to talk afterward.
Were you happy with that, Ben?
No.
He
was mad.
He was mad.
It was too high.
Yeah.
You believe that?
Yeah.
But
He
guess
hit
what?
me up after. Who went to Expo? Anybody go to Expo? I taught a class in Expo. He stayed for like 40 minutes afterwards because I had this line of people out there. And he beat me up. It was too much out of pocket. I'm not happy with it. I'm like, you know how many people in this room would be happy with less than $15K out of pocket?
Yeah, but
I guess.
So at this house's closing, both closings, the hard money and the conventional, we got paid both times.
Let me tell that story. So I called him. I think your mom tells me, when people do well, they don't call, but when they do, need problems or something, talking down off the fence, they call me. But he doesn't call, and his mom said, "Oh, being closed on that house." I'm like, "What? Hold up, being closed on that house?" And so I called him. I said, "What's up with that, man? You closed on the house? You didn't call me." Yeah, I was like, "How much were you out of pocket?" He was like, "Well, actually, they gave me like $6 back." I said, "They paid for lunch."
It was $2.06 the first time, and then $2,000 the second time.
Wow. So that is awesome. But
And it's not good enough for him.
not good enough.
No, it's not.
Well, I think what he wanted was less than 10 so he can go buy another one quicker.
Yeah. That's right.
All right. So how's life changed you guys? Hannah, let me ask Hannah, how has life changed you since, and I'll let you talk in a second, Ben.
How has lifestyles, not life,
Yeah.
changed us?
Well, how's lifestyle changed you? Yeah.
I think lifestyles has just opened up a new way to think about planning for our future. We're pretty young, but
How old are you guys?
I'm 25. He's 24. So.
Oh, look at you. All right.
So we had just been thinking. I am really excited about being a teacher for now, but we want flexibility in the future. And Ben is a big build it your own, start it your own kind of guy, and that isn't quite the corporate world. So Lifestyles has just opened up the opportunity to be, how can you do life differently and live life the way you want to with the resources you have using unconventional manners and through real estate. So I think it's been a mindset shift for me.
Awesome. Perfect. You go ahead.
Yeah, when my wife and I got married, we road tripped from Durham, North Carolina to Seattle, Washington. We've actually at this point looped the whole U.S. On a road trip. And we spent our first number of months actually not employed yet because my job started later after we got married. And it was awesome. We got to do lots of traveling. And now I work a corporate job, and we do significantly less traveling. And so one of the things we really want to do is just get back into traveling after eventually we retire off of real estate and lifestyles.
Wow. All right. Yeah. And so I'm gonna come back to this last question. I'm gonna come back in a second, talk about that. I want to talk about your goals and talk about the vendors. Then we'll ask you that last question. All right. So short term, you guys want to purchase 4 to 5 properties this year, right?
No, 6 to 10 more.
It's increased.
I can't keep up with. I'm like, this dude making me change his slide too many times. I'm like, come on, man, stick with it. All right. So that's probably something he came up with on the way here.
Did I put this number?
I got it from you. I didn't make it up, So
No,
hey.
at least 7 by the end of the year. Probably more.
I think. See, here's what happens, and let me tell you why we were having this conversation. Here's what happened. I'm telling you guys, when you first start, you're like, oh my gosh, let me do 1, let me do 2, maybe let's see how it goes. And I'm telling you, it's addictive because I did my first one. I told you I'm the guy that bought 5 in one day, So I mean, I'm telling you, it's addicted. So that's what kind of happens. Long term, what you want to do?
Yeah, so our initial is very similar to Adrian and Chris Wyatt. We're just going to do single family because that's all the capital that we have right now. We do want to get into some passive deals, mostly for the exposure. We are passively certified, but we want to understand how the multifamily world works before we jump into it. And then eventually, long-term goal would be to quit my job. I don't like it very much, but it's useful for...
And he just started working, guys. Come on, some of you guys are old out there like, yeah, you got to put in 30 more years, man. Come on. Look at him shaking his head in the back. But yeah, that's think about it. And that's why I like his story, because you have to think about, you have kids, some of you guys got kids his age, right? And, and you're like, okay, maybe they think that they can't do it. Well, you're looking at an example of a couple that's doing it, and, they don't have a lot of money. They have a lot of things that maybe others would think were against them, but they were able to succeed because, like I say, they come, they get help, they take advice from their mentors, and and everything is here for you to take advantage of. So let me talk about the vendors real quick, and then I'm gonna take a couple questions. Is that okay? All right. So what we want to, obviously, I'm the master mentor here, right? Right. He's only a winner because of me, right?
Can I say something really quickly about that? No,
if you must, right?
Adrian Johnson's really awesome. But one of the things when I first called him, he said, "Hey, don't stick to one mentor. Make sure you talk to all of them." And I think at this point, I've probably talked to like 6 of the mentors over the last two properties, and so that's a really helpful piece of advice. They're all really good, and so Adrian Johnson, that was one of the super helpful things that he says, like, hey, use me for all of your base questions, but also make sure to get to know all the mentors.
Talk to everybody. Yeah, I mean, because think about it. I'm limited. I know a lot, but I'm limited. And I work with two other amazing. Hey, Nicole, take a bow. All right, amazing Nicole. I'm here because of her. She called and said, hey, you want to work with us? I was like, no, but actually the story after case study. But and Brandon, so he had an emergency, but he'd normally be here. And so, but the loan officer, we had Catalyst Funding, we had Inspector, we had Amerispec, and General Contractor. Okay, we had Corbett's. So basically, because this was, like I say, down by Houston. And the realty team, Moon. So, but yeah, so get So get this couple of hand. So take a couple questions. Yeah. All right, so we'll take a couple questions online, one online and one in the room. Anybody stand up if you want to ask in the room and online.
Right in the front row here.
So we have one question online.
Okay. Got a mic.
And they're asking how
right
many
now.
deals you looked at before you decided to go ahead and move forward with this one.
Yeah, we.
A lot.
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah, we looked at. That's what I was. It's like maybe in person one, and then we realized we didn't really need to do that, and then it was a lot of just responding to blasts. And yeah, we looked at a lot of the blast deals before doing this one.
So when he says an email blast, that's a Lifestyles realty agent that's analyzing deals and sending them out to the membership. Who wants to be lazy? There you go, right there. Okay, you're my people.
Yeah. Okay, go
Very
ahead.
good.
How much of this are you doing yourself? Are you managing the contractors? Are you managing the property?
Great question.
How
Yeah.
much time are you doing?
The answer is we do everything ourselves, but do none of the work. And so, because I had someone else ask the same question, it's what all the mentors say: trust but verify. I don't go in there and do any of the work myself. I let the contractor do all the work. I let our leasing agent do all the leasing. I let our inspector do all the inspecting. But also, I'm responsible for making sure those people do the work. So in that sense, I'm talking to the contractor every other day. Not every other day, once a week. Talking to the inspector. I don't just look at the report. I call him up and ask him to explain everything to me. So I do all the work to make sure they do their work, but I don't ever go to the house and do any work on the house itself. Yes, we have two at this point, and we didn't see either of them before.
He didn't see it before you bought it. Yeah. But what was so funny, I was having a conversation with him because most people, like, I'm gonna admit, when I first joined, I wanted to have a property close to me so I can go, touch it, feel it, see it. And so I was asking him one day, I was like, man, because he's like my little protege, But I was asking him one day, I said, what do you like better versus investing here or there? He was like, man, I thought he was going to say here, because I was thinking maybe he wanted to do a deal here. He's like, no, I like investing there because, there they say, oh, you in town? No, I'm not in town. Okay, I'll go do it for you. But he was like, people here, it's like, oh, you in town? It's like, yeah, I'm in town. Well, you go do it yourself. So it's kind of like he can be a little more lazy when he's out of town because, our motto, our people, you invest where you want to invest, live where you want to live. So they know that motto, and most people can get the job done. So I want to ask one last question.
Oh, you gave Leo a mic?
Hey,
Why did you give him a mic, man? I was finna shut him down. You done gave him the mic.
I wanted to get something with Black Elvis up there, first time for everything. But anyways, I was going to ask, did you know that there was a really strong demand for housing to where it may not take very long to get it leased? Or were you familiar with that? Did your parents tell that to you? Or did you all have the understanding that, hey, you know what? I think there's a lot of people that may end up wanting to lease this thing, so you aren't sitting there empty-handed.
Yeah, so for those of y'all who don't know, there's a tool that Lifestyles has called Lifestyles Quest. And so with that, you can go have access to the MLS. And so first thing we do is just have any properties around this property been rented in the last 6 months. We check, is there high demand? The other really easy way is just go on Zillow and see if there are other properties around that are being rented for what price. That's pretty much all that we did. And then really trusting the realtors. Again, trust but verify. The realtors helped us a lot with that, though, because they're really good at that.
And the mentors, you can talk with us too for us. Like we'll kind of, it's nice having like a lot of people around you that support, and we can kind of look at the numbers and go through it with you. And plus we have like other investors in there, so that members that invest in the same area. So get advice.
Oh yeah, actually yeah. Toward that, I called up a number of other investors, 2 of them I think actually, who had invested in Baytown as well, and talked to them.
You worried about the construction?
Hold up. I gotta rush. Because I got another one. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but I gotta rush because I got one more special group coming up. Real quick, in like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, both of you tell me what would you tell these people? Why should they, take action, get involved? Like, why should they be here? Why should they listen? Just real quick, both of you tell.
Yeah, so my wife and I have kind of created this motto that we never want to be the reasons for our own failures. So we can always respond to a house and then not get first place on it. But if you never try, you'll never succeed. It's kind of that point. So at least do one and then just see that it works. And then you can make your own choice from there going forward.
From your perspective as a wife.
Yeah. From my perspective, there are a lot of people who know what they're doing here, and it's worked for them. And I've seen it work through him and the conversations and relationships he's made. So works for them, works for us.
All right, give him a hand, guys.